School in the 60s and 70s wasn't just about pencils and pop quizzes. It was a world of chalkboards, wooden desks, strict dress codes, and rules that, by today's standards, would leave kids wide-eyed. Teachers who were firm, principals who were feared, and what passed for normal back then might get headlines today. We're uncovering 10 school rules from the 60s and 70s that would absolutely shock kids today. So grab your trapper keeper and step back in time, because today on Golden Hour Rewind, 1. Corporal punishment was totally normal. Yes, teachers could spank you, and they did. Whether it was a wooden paddle or ruler to the knuckles, or a quick whack in the hallway, corporal punishment was often written into the school handbook. Parents usually backed the teacher too. Nowadays, that kind of discipline would lead to lawsuits, but back then, it was just keeping order. 2. Hair length could get you suspended. Boys with long hair, that was asking for trouble. Many schools had strict rules about hair not touching the collar or ears, especially during the early days of the hippie movement. Girls, on the other hand, had to keep theirs neat and often couldn't wear it down in class. It was all about presentability, and rebellion often started at the barbershop. 3. Dress codes were incredibly strict, especially for girls. Miniskirts were making headlines but not in school. And keep everything ironed. Girls had to wear skirts or dresses that reached below the knee. No pants, no sleeveless tops, and definitely no jeans. That was unladylike. Boys, meanwhile, were expected to tuck in shirts, wear belts. It was less about learning and more about discipline through appearance. You couldn't speak without raising your hand. Ever no water, no snacks, no gum, all day long. But back then, respect meant staying quiet and still. Drank from the water fountain, and that was it. You powered through the day without a granola bar in sight. 4. Talking without permission. Straight to the principal's office. Tough it out. Classrooms were like courtrooms. Silent, orderly, and centered on the teacher. Calling out, whispering, even asking to go to the bathroom without raising your hand could get you in trouble. It sounds extreme now. 5. Forget water bottles and snack breaks. They didn't exist in the 60s. You waited until 3 o'clock. You ate at lunch. Chewing gum was basically a crime. And if a teacher caught you with candy, it was confiscated immediately. Modern kids might be shocked, but back then, 6, no calling home. You waited it out if you were sick or had a problem. But students were expected to pitch in. Calling home was a last resort, and only after visiting the stern-faced school nurse. There were no cell phones, and students definitely weren't allowed to use the office phone without permission. These days, kids can text mom from the hall. 7. Left-handed students were often forced to switch. This one's hard to believe, but it's true. Some schools, especially earlier in the 60s, still considered left-handedness incorrect. Teachers would actually train kids to write with their right hands, sometimes even tying the left one down. It wasn't just outdated, it was unfair, but it happened. And often, 8 students cleaned the classrooms. Janitors did the heavy stuff, sweeping, erasing chalkboards, tidying desks, sometimes even mopping the floors. It was seen as character building, not punishment. Nowadays, that might raise eyebrows, but back then it was just part of the school day. 9. Not a chance you trembled, and if your parents were called, you were in double trouble. Mental health wasn't discussed. Neither was bullying. If you felt anxious or sad, you were told to toughen up. Counselors focused on grades and future jobs, not emotions. Today, we know better. But back then, vulnerability had no place in the classroom. 10. The principal was the scariest person in town. Stepping into the principal's office felt like facing a judge. You dressed up for it. There was no friendly open-door policy. It was strict, formal, and fearsome. Some kids still remember the smell of that office like it was yesterday. Schools have changed a lot, and in many ways, for the better. But those who walked the halls in the 60s and 70s will never forget the rules, the rituals, and the rigid routines that shaped their childhood. Did you grow up under these rules? Or did something even stricter surprise you? Drop your story in the comments. We love reading them. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more vintage memories. Right here on Golden Hour Rewind.